Dear counselor, we are wanting to meet because we're having a hard time communicating with our daughter. It's all sad faces, frustrated faces, and sighs. We need some help. She's a good child and making good grades. We have lots of concern about her constant connection to social media, which never stops even when she's doing her homework. I'm concerned about her self-discipline to stay focused on her studies as she goes off to college just next year. She hardly communicates with us as a family and wants to be constantly connected to social media. She pushes back very hard when we pull her away from her computer and other media. She acts sad and depressed when we force her to disconnect. She used to be an extremely social and outgoing kid, but now she's being introverted and only wanting her computer and the social media world. Surely it's more interesting than the family, but it's like she's already moved out. She's acting like she's in a different world, and we just happen to be in the same house. We need some guidance. Guys, this was a letter sent to the counselors from a parent of a Clements student, and we can clearly see that technology has simply overtaken her world and she's unable to cooperate with her parents. So today we're basically going to be talking about, at Humans of Clements, we're going to be talking specifically about technology and how it affects all of us. So I'm Parth Oregon, and this is...
Ananya Iyengar.
Ahia Samuse.
Lauren Pico. Anna Sabrino.
So 92% of teens report going online at least once a day. Why do you guys think this is?
Many people believe that they can survive without going on their phones, that they don't have a true addiction. But when it really comes down to it, they have a fear of missing out of what's going on. That because we rely so much on technology, that everything is now connected to technology. And if you're not constantly checking and constantly wondering what's going on, you feel like you're missing out and not knowing what's going on in the outside world, and that scares a lot of people.
Have you guys ever experienced this in your daily lives? Like, is this common for all of us?
I feel like for me too, because like whenever you watch like a TV show or something, like if you go online, like everybody's talking about it, like, oh, here's a spoiler, or like here's an Easter egg that's gonna happen. And it's like if you don't know that, it's like you didn't really watch the show. It's like you're completely like taken away from everything. And it's like if you didn't watch it like that day, it's like you can't do anything. It's like you're like behind everyone else. And it's like you don't want to be behind, you want to be with everyone else.
Yeah. And I feel like also face-to-face communication just doesn't really exist anymore outside of school. And if you're not texting or on Snapchat or on Twitter, you have no way to communicate with your friends. Like even calling a friend is considered weird. So if you're not constantly like checking your phone for a text or a tweet or a Snapchat, you're just out of the loop.
Okay, so going off of the communication aspect of all this, many people think that their communication skills have like over the years gotten worse because of technology. And like with the survey that we did from a bunch of sophomores, 35% of students admitted that they would be scared of going and speaking to a crowd or just having a face-to-face conversation simply because of what technology has done. So what do you think the effects of that are?
Well, I think you just see a lot of like difficulty expressing your feelings. Like I know that a lot of my friends, and myself included, like I have trouble just talking about or trying to get my thoughts across in a yeah.
And so when you text someone, a lot of times it's hard to convey exactly what you mean, because in a text you can only express so much, because body language, ever since like the first evolution, like throughout evolution, we've learned to express almost all of our communication through body language. And that's such an important aspect of communication, and text doesn't get any of that. There's no emoji, or there's nothing like that for body communication, body language. And so once we've lost that aspect, it's hard to, once we have to do that in front of like in a business meeting or in a presentation, public presentation, you have to use body language, and now you've got to combine that with your speech, and it's just, when people aren't used to that, it's hard to do it.
Going off of what Lauren said as well, you lose a really important aspect when you're texting, and that's like body language and eye contact and things like that. And when you have so little of that through texting and that kind of thing, you slowly over time lose this ability to have proper eye contact and to like move your body or do any kind of gesture that would indicate how you feel to another person, and that makes it more difficult. And it's really important that people recognize that it's a problem if you feel like you can't speak to somebody face to face or even a crowd.
And I feel like even like in those crowds, you feel like you're in an awkward situation. It's like, and if like you have to talk to someone, everyone's just on their phone. I mean, avoid eye contact with anyone. I don't have to talk to you if it looks like I'm busy.
Yeah, and like once you get used to only texting or only on a call, even once you're faced with having to publicly speak in front of people, it's you only focus on what you would normally type or just say, and so you're not used to making eye contact with people. So that's why people end up looking down, and it's just the personal connection isn't enough, and it's not as personal. It's not as good of a public speech.
All right, so let's move on to this phenomenon called like syndrome and how that affects human narcissism. What do you guys have to think? What do you guys have to say about this issue in particular?
So, one thing I've noticed a lot is that some of my friends have these things called liking apps. And you can basically buy likes on those apps, and random people will like your pictures. And they do that because they feel like they don't have as much or as many likes as their friends do, and that somehow affects their social status or their social standing, and they're not as good as that other friend. And that's absolutely not true. And it's really important to like break down that aspect of, I have to be, in order for me to be beautiful and to be validated, I have to have the most amount of likes.
And also going off of what you're saying about likes, I've noticed with a lot of my friends that there's this like pressure to make sure that your comment or your caption is perfect and it makes sense and it's cute and it's funny. And there's so much pressure to have that perfect caption. And I have friends who take weeks coming up with just one caption just to make sure that they get the most likes that they can. And it's just crazy that
I feel like it makes people feel more important. Like if like 1,000 people like my picture, I must be like really important to people. I know with my sister, like she posts pictures all the time and she's like, I got 300 likes. I'm like, congrats. It's only been up for 40 minutes. I'm proud of you. Doesn't make much sense.
Okay, so moving on to this aspect of many teens think that they can multitask, like watching Netflix while they're doing homework or like catching up on a TV show, again, while studying for like maybe an English test. So how do you think that this affects people's ability to learn and actually get their work done?
So, one thing I've noticed when I'm working is that right before I'll go on my phone and do things like check my email, check my text, go through apps, see what new notifications have come up. And before I know it, like an hour has passed and I realize I'm not multitasking at all. I'm just wasting my time going through these different apps, thinking I actually accomplished something, when really I just wasted the past hour of my life.
Yeah, and like I used to, for a long time, like my entire ninth grade year, I would spend so much time. I would start working on my homework, and I would turn on Netflix, and I would start watching a TV show while I was doing my homework too. And I found out that my homework was taking me 6 hours to complete, and I finally started trying this year, okay, I'm just gonna work on this and this only, and I realized that I really don't have that much homework after all. I was just dragging it out because I was doing too much multitasking.
And another problem that's common in today's world is that like people will be showing up for business meetings and then they'll just a notification will pop up on their phone and they'll go and check the notification, which often offends the person taking the interview and potentially results in them like losing that potential to get a job. So how do you think that that affects society today?
I think that it's just become something so normal, especially to the millennial generation, if you will, that checking your phone just for a notification isn't rude. Just picking it up once to look at it is something normal. But especially, as was mentioned before, for older generations, it's not something they're used to, and having phones, it's quite a foreign concept. So the thought of somebody just, while they're speaking to them and having a meaningful conversation, they just lift up their phone and check it for a notification can come off as really rude. And it's important that people take time and realize and just put your phone away, because you will not die if you have an hour without your phone.
And in meetings, even if it's with someone that's also used to checking their phone a lot, I feel like many people were used to talking to someone, and then once they go on their phone, we feel like we're obligated to as well, because it's just not the same. If they're not fully paying attention to me, then okay, I don't have to fully pay attention to them. But when you're in a business meeting and let's say the interviewer does not have their phone, but you do, when you pick up your phone, they're not getting their full attention. They're not getting your full attention, and it's just not. It's not compatible. It doesn't work.
I think it's more of a subconscious thing now that like that's what we should be afraid of. Like we're not controlling the fact that we're looking at our phone. Oh, I heard my phone ding, so like that must be just Snapchat or something. It's like we automatically do it without realizing that we're doing it. And I think that's where we should be worried, that we don't have a control over the fact that we're using technology.
And I also feel like it's hard to stop because it's gotten to the point where not only are we checking our phones constantly, but the people are expecting an immediate response. So when you don't get that immediate response, you feel like you're not being respected or they don't care about you. So it's this like vicious circle of trying to respect the people you're with and also trying to like respect the people on the receiving end of that text.
Okay, so can you guys elaborate on some of the brain imaging studies that we learned about in class?
So we learned about one brain imaging study that showed that there's similarities in a brain of someone who's addicted to technology and somebody who's addicted to a substance like alcohol or some other drugs, which is really appalling when you think about it. And it just shows how technology has really changed. It rewires your brain and completely changes your way of thinking and your train of thought. And it's important that we realize that this is a problem, it's an epidemic, and that we focus on that.
And it's something we all have to change because, like an alcoholic, whenever they're trying to cure their addiction, they just can step away from alcohol and remove it from their life completely. But it's very hard for us to just remove technology from our lives if everyone else is still having it in theirs. So we need to try and, everyone needs to be on the same page in order for it to work.
Alright, so today we talked about specifically the fear of missing out, the inability of being able to multitask while using technology, the narcissism that comes along with social media. We talked about the communication skills that people are lacking nowadays because of technology, and we also talked about how this can affect our day-to-day lives, our business interviews, and along with that we also talked about the brain imaging studies proving to us how technology can become an addiction and can cause significant problems in our everyday lives. And so thank you for tuning in to this edition of Humans of Clements, and next episode we will be showing you how we can actually fix this problem. How can we reduce the triggers? How can we stay away from technology effectively and efficiently counter this problem?